Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Our thoughts are...
Hello, hello, hello. This is Jeffrey DeShawn, the Inspired Muse, with a Sunday Muse moment. Now, last week I posted a video entitled, Family in America, Let Us Not Tarry at the Grave Sites Too Long. In reference to the world many of us feel like we woke up to in 2020 that has felt like we woke up in a graveyard. I shared some advice and inspiration about not getting stuck in the grave or by a loved one's graveside and miss your own living. In this Muse moment, I want to continue that theme and share some words of inspiration and advice for not only ensuring that you don't find yourself back in the graveyards of your existence, but that you set a successful course for landing into the gardens of your new beginning. As I mentioned last week, being someone who has literally and figuratively woken up in a graveyard and beside living grave sites in my life, I know how it can feel in moments like we're experiencing in the world today, where once we have become aware of ourselves and that we were in a grave or that we were stuck by a graveside and dare to step out and up, it can feel like we have moved from the funeral and graveyard version of Groundhog's Day, as I have referenced in the past, into the Walking Dead. It can feel like that, no? The haze of trauma still present, the shadows of the past still on our heels, and for many, the stench of death and the grave still lingering in our nostrils. This reality can usually facilitate two common responses. One, to freeze, to watch, wait, and see what direction others are going to move in. Common. Or two, to sprint fast ahead, yet still unsure of what, where, how, and why. Very also common. And I want to offer you some thoughts and considerations today that instead of reacting to the inertia of either of those realities, which can often quickly find you back in the graveyard, either because you allowed yourself to be led back by the wandering crowd, or because you sprinted yourself back, turning into a gate or on a path having no knowledge of the direction in which you were headed. Also frequent and common. Today I want to encourage you to take a pause. I have talked in the past about the power of the pause. Take a pause and allow yourself to set your sight line and let your sight line settle so that you may truly trust and know that you are indeed awake, alive, and free. Before you begin to sort of thirst and allow that inertiatic thirst to follow, to consume you, or you find yourself out of fear of the past because of the shadows that still felt to be on your heels, sprinting head first into a tree. Also common and frequent. Take a pause. Set your sight line. Allow yourself to discover, what does your life and living now look and feel like? Take a pause, because there's no rush to decide your direction or destiny. You are now free. Take a pause and observe yourself. Reconnect with yourself and the spirit within. For me, that has required me spending time in meditation and prayer, seeking guidance from the spirit within that knows me better and best, and spending time with God, my creator, who for me has set the stage for my life and living. Take this pause and allow yourself to develop clarity and understanding of self and the environment which you now are living and moving and breathing. Thank God. Take a pause and rediscover the person that you truly are, your real desires, needs, and wants. What truly brings you joy and will sustain the knowing that you are alive and living. Because we can sometimes forget and found ourselves back down by the graveside. Now, once you have allowed this new level of self-awareness to settle in, I invite you and I encourage you, trust the life realignments that your spirit and soul will begin to scream loud in your inner ear. Trust them. Trust yourself. I have sort of two considerations from my experience that may help you begin to take that pause and activate the trust of yourself and reduce the reactivity that can often lead us right back into the graveyard, into sinkholes, into potholes, or slam into a tree. One, again, trust yourself and dare yourself to leave assumptions and assumption-based living behind you. So often in this world, the assumptions we carry about ourselves and others fuels this overreactivity that I call overreactivity syndrome that seems to plague so many of us. And it just sparks this thirst for deep diving into others' lives and stories, which I, from personal experience, will tell you is one of the hidden trap doors to finding yourself back into a grave of your own making. Let the assumptions go. And when you find yourself reacting based upon assumptions birthed of your past, well, what do? I think you might know what I'm going to say. Take a pause. Assess if it's indeed something that is a part of your reality, or is it a mirage planted by a passerby or a hanger-on. And evaluate if this assumption has any real impact on your ability to continue to move forward in your life and living. For your life and living is yours. You are the author of your story. You are the manifester of your dream. And for those who lead families, those who are guiding the future through our children into this world, well, that future is dependent upon what path you set your feet upon, where you shine your light, where you place your lantern, and to what you assume is your reality and existence. And so, if those things are not real, that assumption is not real and not a part of your reality, and you see and feel and experience no impact on your life and living, or the impact of the life and living of your family, blood bond chosen, your community, your loved ones, let it go and drop it quickly. So often there's so much in this world that we know not to be true. We know not to be real. We know not to be ours, and we know not to be an active part of our existence, but yet we won't tune it off. We won't let the assumptions go. Let the assumptions go. Let those things that are not real, that are not part of your life and living, that you know that are not true, let them go and drop them quickly. I encourage you. Those assumptions are like weeds that grow in dry land. One root and the whole lot will be overtaken. Let them go. Allow yourself to walk forward trusting in what you know, what you have experienced in living and in truth, in mind, body, and spirit. And most importantly, Walk forward, not letting your past steal your present. So often we can step forward out of the curiosity or out of the fear that has propelled us out of the gate or out of the door back into life. But let we walk forward with the past directing our steps because we are fearful of the life, of the landmines that may be still existing. Well, when we've truly let go of the past, when we truly release the assumptions of the world that have been planted in us from our past, from our guardians' pasts, from passerbys who are trying to figure out their own story, from those who don't understand how you got up and out, we often can find ourselves again stuck in the muck and chained at the headstone of our own or others' grave sites. Again, allow yourself to walk forward trusting in what you know, what you have experienced, and most importantly, not letting the past steal your present. Walk forward evaluating and adjusting, because as we walk forward, adjustments must be made. I love the analogy of adjusting your crown. We must adjust our crown. We must adjust our thinking. As Mother Ayanla says, we must let go of the stinking thinking. And we must adjust our walk and our ways. And so we must walk forward evaluating and adjusting based upon what is happening in the here and now. Not what was or had been. Because I can tell you, walking forward based upon what was and what had been is like sending up a flare that says, past, here I am and come get me now. Once you let that assumption-based living go, that overreactivity that drives us so often into trees, into embankments, into swamps, into chains, and you take that pause that I encourage you to take, sometimes once the haze begins to fade and the cataract begins to fall off, we can look around and it can seem like the rushing crowd is consuming all that is around you. And there becomes sometimes this desire to also consume incessantly whatever is put before you in a rush and thirst to catch up and gain ground. I encourage you and I beckon you, resist it. For those that rush and consume, they know not what or from whom they eat. And most will eat any and everything from any and every being. Again, before you rush into followership and the urge to overconsume because of fear and the past false sense of lack and scarcity. Again, take that pause. Learn thyself. Know thyself to be true. And consume according to what is required for your journey. Because I will tell you, there are some that are simply feeding to fuel a quick return back into the graveyard, whereas there are others that are planning and storing and strengthening and building for the long walk home. Allow yourself to develop the capacity, and I'll tap back into, my elders' roots, an old word from the, wise pastors and women of God that I grew up around. Allow yourself to develop a sense and spirit of discernment so that you may be able to discern, know, and understand the difference between the two. Those that are feeding and fueling and consuming for a quick return to the past and the grave sites of yesterday, and those that are beginning to plan and store and strengthen for their long walk home into their future. Assumption-based and overreactive living is part of the formula that have driven many of us, and I would say this country of the United States of America, back into our graves and grave sites of the past, along with the overconsumption of the wrong fuel for your life and our lives in living. Prepare your menu. Set your table. Make your plate. Pour your drink. And stop accepting free buffet coupons from the Walking Dead. For in leaving assumptions and overconsumption behind, you will indeed set yourself up for a successful transition from the graves and grave sites of your past into the gardens of your new beginnings. I'm Jeffrey DeShawn, the Inspired Muse, and that has been your Sunday Muse Moment. Go forth knowing that in this new space and new beginning of letting go of the past, releasing assumption-based living and an over-consuming false reality, that all things are possible and nothing is out of reach.